flying as a disabled person, oftentimes, more so than not, is extremely troublesome. You have airlines breaking the wheelchairs, the power scooters of disabled passengers. Happens almost every day at this point, just happened again recently even. Getting wheelchair assistance can often be a pain because sometimes they come way too late and you almost miss your flight. I know my friend James has had issues every once in a while when he's traveling. I'm sure he's made videos about that. I'll link his channel down below. And then for deaf passengers, also myself, not being made aware of gate changes and such. I know that there are screens behind the gate agents, but sometimes they're not always going to update. Sometimes they're not even on yet, showing information to begin with. And gate agents are just talking into the little speakers, and you're not gonna know what's going on. Yes, there are apps that will send you notifications on gate changes, and sometimes the notifications are gonna go through. You're not gonna get text messages, or some apps don't have that option. Don't ask me why, but sometimes I don't get that option. And then when you're getting on the plane, you're not always made aware of if something is going on in the middle of the flight. Like for instance, when I had a flight get turned around and going back to the original airport and nobody wanted to tell me what was going on, one of our engines went out, or almost went out. But nobody wanted to tell me what was going on, and luckily I had made friends with my seat neighbor who wanted to let me know. And when I flew to Toronto for the very first time back in 2015, I had some of the worst traveling experience I have ever had, and I was flying solo for the first time, I want to say. So yeah, that was frightening. And just a couple weeks ago, I ended up flying back to Toronto for the first time in 5 years. For once in a very long time, I feel like I had actually a really decent experience going to and coming back. Not with everybody, but there was one person for each travel period that was actually doing what they needed to do. So when I'm traveling, I usually have two things marked in special assistance. One, wheelchair assistance, because I do have chronic pain and chronic fatigue, but I didn't really use those this time around, so they're not really worth mentioning at this point. But secondly, and this is where the point comes in, hi, I'm deaf, so hearing assistance is marked on it, and I'm pretty sure gate agents, flight attendants, they have that on their screens when they look at it. It's also on my tickets. But majority of the time, gate agents and flight attendants, it's like they never see that part, they never read that part. Usually when I'm at the gates, I will tell the gate agent, hey, I'm deaf, I need priority boarding. One, because something's gonna go on and then I'm gonna miss who's being called. Two, the chronic pain part, honestly, you do not want me lifting up my suitcase in a busy filled plane, because it's probably, there's a good chance it's going to fall and hit somebody in the head. So I would rather it hit an empty seat than somebody's head. So it's just easier. Priority boarding, made for disabled people. We're gonna take advantage of it. And they'll always say, okay, we'll let you know when it's time for you to board. Every single time, almost every single time, they never do. I am always forgotten about. Unless you are actually in a wheelchair and they see that, they're usually going to forget about you. Although recently, on one of the recent flights that I've taken this year, they completely forgot about the elderly people who were in wheelchairs sitting right in front of the desk. So that was something. And going into the plane and sitting down, flight attendants will still end up talking to you anyway, as if nothing was ever written on the manifest and in the special assistance category. But lo and behold, when I sat down, everybody was, you know, starting to sit, board the plane, and wait for takeoff, all of that. The flight attendant behind me came up to me and had like the phone and you know, like that big clunky thing that they carry around when they're going for drinks and stuff. Actually had a big old note on the note app saying, hey, my name is such and such, and it gave a little brief summary, I want to say, of like safety protocols or whatever, because obviously unless you're in a bigger plane with a TV that has the video and it comes captioned, you're not going to get any real visual assistance in any way, shape, or form when it's just the flight attendant themselves performing the safety protocol stuff. And then the typical, hey, if you need anything, let me know, da da da. So that was really nice. So I actually had hope that, hey, if something were to happen, if there was an emergency, she would let me know. And this begs the question that I asked previously, a couple weeks ago, whatever, in a video, do flight attendants not read these manifest things? Because most of the time they don't, and I feel like they should be. But no flight attendant ever actually answers that question. So I still want to know, what's the deal with that? So I like that woman. I don't remember her name, but I liked her. But then, coming back from Toronto, that was actually the best one of all. I really like this guy. And I have a little fear or a grudge against Toronto Pearson Airport because the first time that I flew with them coming back, and it was an absolute disaster. Link to that video will be down below. But I do the same thing, you know, I say I'm deaf, I'm disabled, whatever, I need priority boarding, especially because this was a much smaller plane, so we were gonna have to start going upstairs, and the stairs are really tiny, and that's like my worst nightmare. But also, because it was in a room where none of the TVs were on, so trying to figure out who's boarding what was a pain. So I do the usual, hey, please let me know, flag me down when it's time to board, things like that, and let me have priority boarding, please. And I went to the woman that was sitting at the desk, but this guy that was working just came around and was like, hey, what do you need? And he's like, you got it. And I went to go sit down at the back of the room because I still had like 2 hours before we had to board. So just minding my own business. And then when boarding time was starting to come, just like 5-10 minutes away, I moved over to the front so people would see me. So hopefully, you know, hey, you're gonna let me know when we're supposed to board, because there's no visual information for whatever reason. And all 3 like doors or gates were like literally just right beside of each other. So I'm sitting there minding my own business. I see people are starting to get up and start boarding. I'm like, oh great, here we go. Okay, so boarding time is happening and I need to get in front of the first class people. And the guy that I had talked to just yelled at everyone to stop. He was like, okay, everybody stop moving. No, you're not going anywhere right now. And he sees me and he takes me by the arm. This was a little much, but he takes my hand, takes my wrist, my arm, whatever, and starts to pull me forward to the person that is scanning the tickets. And I remember one guy was trying to go in front of me and he said, no, you're not going anywhere. He took my ticket and he scanned it, and then he accidentally took that guy's carry-on and started to walk away from it because he thought it was mine. I was like, no, that's his bag. I checked mine, let him keep his bag. And then he asked me, hey, do you need help getting up? And then I saw that it was actually like a regular ramp instead of the stairs this time, like the really, really tiny stairs. And I said, no, that's alright, I just appreciate that you stopped everyone. I got up on the plane and there was that, and nobody in the plane seemed to read the manifest that say, hey, deaf person, so here's your visual aid for that. But thankfully I've, you know, been in enough planes and traveled enough that I know what's supposed to happen. But I am not the only deaf person, I am not the only disabled person in the world, obviously. So, for anybody new to traveling, especially like kids, you know, younger people, right, it'll be very important to have visual aids. So, again, begs the question, flight attendants, what's the protocol when it comes to reading the manifest? But yeah, that was a much, much better experience than the first time that I flew out of Pearson coming back home. Again, that video will be down below. It was a horrible experience, seriously. He was a nice guy. I almost wanted to be like, hey, give him a raise. And I think the flight home was when we had a really bad moment of turbulence to the point that I started to freak out because it really felt like it was going to be a Final Destination scene. Normally turbulence does not make me so worried, but that moment it did. And of course there was an announcement and nobody came to me to tell me about that announcement, and my captions on the iPhone were not picking up very well. So, but yeah, sometimes ADA, or it's not the ADA when it comes to flight accommodations. I can't remember what it is right now, but obviously in the US and in Canada they're much different when it comes to accessibility laws. Still, I was pleasantly surprised for this time around. But now if airlines could really just stop breaking people's wheelchairs and power scooters, that would be really nice. But hopefully, my fellow disabled people watching this, if you do have a good traveling story, leave it down in the comments below so we don't lose complete hope in humanity. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and engage with the video again by leaving a comment. That's really helpful. I do have a Patreon page, so if you'd like to support the work that I do, I'll have that link below, and you get exclusive content, extra content, behind the scenes on YouTube and writing and other things. So I will have that link down below. I am going to be moving into my first apartment in 2 months, so that would really help. If you have not yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you later.